Good morning and welcome to another episode, another week of the Console League. My name's Tom Battinger, known as F. on the internet. I'm joined here by the wonderful, the fantastic, and the talented Gormizer.
I like the words you use. They always make me feel so much better about myself than I do normally, I guess, coming into a day.
Everybody needs a little bit of an extra push on Mondays, so that's definitely what I'm trying to do here. But today, it's towards the end of March, but it's towards the beginning of our Console League. We're about 3 weeks in, and we're finally going to get a chance to see some of the bigger teams go head-to-head.
And this is the thing I think that's kind of catching my eye. I think later in the week we actually have two teams that have managed to stay undefeated, which is something that's a little more outlandish, I want to say, overall with the way the league has been going. Of course, we've had that one team, usually on console, that's always dominating in every single region they go through. But normally 2, 3, 4, they're taking games off of each other. Like, that's where the really competition, I guess, is.
For sure.
And then the other team's just using them, I guess, as practice for LAN.
Well, let's take a look at some of the European matches that we're going to start off with today. PS4 is first on the docket, and we'll see Flashpoint, one of the flashier teams, go head-to-head against Stush. And then later on, we'll see Cyclone GG take on Bust Down. And those are two of the teams that you were talking about being undefeated.
And that's the one that I think is going to kind of signify what we expect to see later on in the split, what we expect to see as the weeks go on. Who wins that one, I think, is going to solidify. And if it goes, 5 games, they're all 4-3s, then you start to realize that, at the very end of the day, these teams are going to be highly contested. So going back and forth between these two, I think that's going to solidify, not necessarily who's going to, be, a LAN representative or who's going to be the best in that region.
Sure.
But it's definitely going to give them the leg up.
Exactly. Like you said, week number 3. Still a litmus test for both of those teams, and someone will wind up with an L. As we move over to North America, some contentious games here. Invictus, 2-0 at the moment. Don't forget, that first win was up against Heating Up, so really, really smart play with this Invictus team, and they'll be going up against Has-Beens, a squad that I actually really like this Has-Beens team.
Same. That's actually one of the things I was looking at them, and this is a team that we haven't, I think, actually watched in the last 2 weeks on broadcast, but a lot of players that I recognize the name of, either from the console series, playing in the past, and a lot of them that have impressed me in ways of their own. I'm interested to see how they're going to work as a full unit, as a team.
That's the Muffin Man squad. And then last but not least, Elevate will go up against E-Storm. We'll see how those guys wind up. And again, a really interesting matchup there. Strong team, high potential. Everybody knows the Elevate team, where E-Storm across the way. A little bit more on the up and up, but very strong players. And again, record 1-1.
And it's that area, especially with early on, when you are able to make a note, especially in a matchup like this, when you're going up Flashpoint first, like when you are looking at, no matter what, if you're looking at E-Storm later in the day, or if you're looking at Stush right now, you're looking at, how do I make a statement against the team that is dominating in this region? Like, where do I go? How do I play to showcase that even if I lose, we're up at the top?
That's really the key here, is that Flashpoint is just straight up one of the best teams in the league. North America, Europe, I don't care. They're going to win most of the time. So when you look up at them as the players on Stush are right now, that's really what you're talking about. So the learning experience. You're not going to take this one without any bumps and bruises. With that said, Stush, there's a reason that they are here on the big stage. There's a reason that they're here in the Paladins Console League. So what can they bring to the table that might put Flashpoint on the back foot?
Honestly, I think some of the first things you need to do, the reason these highlights make a lot of sense. Good Lad, I think a little bit more flexibility, but Prosper, for a lot of these games, a lot of these weeks, has just been playing Victor.
Yeah.
Like, just get rid of the Victor. Like, I understand there's probably other things that he's just as scary on, but make him play those. Yeah, make him showcase that he has that talent. Make everyone else flex around him and have to feel uncomfortable protecting him instead of just letting him play the same thing over and over and over again.
And also, Victor is just, it's a very straightforward character, and Prosper Logic is a very straightforward DPS dealer. Make him play something different. Like you said, make them get a little bit unconventional.
Just has to prove how good he is, I guess, overall. Just not because, I mean, we've seen it in the past. We know he can play more than that.
Exactly.
But I need to see it again. Mainly because I like watching him play pretty much any champion, but that's a side point.
It's also week 3. We're starting to get warmed up, but still, players, this isn't 17 weeks into the season. This isn't the third split. There's still a lot of things that players have to warm up for, get used to, and so that's what we're going to see. Across the way on Stush, this is going to be an interesting look for them. A lot of unknown names here. Even if you've been following the league, still might be a little bit, like I said, unknown, excuse me. But really the key here for Stush is to internalize and look at Flashpoint and learn from them. And what I look when I'm looking at a lopsided matchup like this, I want to see Game 2. Game 1, how many notes can you take, internalize, and then look towards a secondary match?
And that, I think, is something that we've seen out of some of the top teams, and that's, I've always said, is the hallmark of a good team. There's a couple things in-game that really showcase how talented they are. Like, hey, we know that we need to back off of this fight. Like, we can't just keep that. And the same thing goes for if you're in Game 1, you lose it terribly. You know you need to back off of that fight. You have to change up how you're going to approach it. And Stush, again, a couple of names that are recognizable, that have played in the past, but for the most part, you have to come into this recognizing that Flashpoint is this all-star roster, and you are in this kind of area where you're like, we just have to make sure our name gets remembered.
The biggest thing here is to realize that Stush belong here on the big league stage, and they absolutely can get a win. Will it happen at Stone Keep is the big question.
Stone Keep, Victor are two things that go very, very well together and very much have been in Flashpoint's favor. I think last week it actually went 4-3 for them, or 4-2. It was a longer game, but they were still in control for the most part. Like, once they got their feet back under them, they were running.
Certainly want to see that in the bans. We'll get into P's and B's in just a moment. And Victor needs to go. I need to see that almost as the first ban for Stush, just understanding where Prosper Logic has been and what he's been able to do lately. Flashpoint are going to start us off, though, by taking Talus off the board. Stush looking towards the tanks a little bit more, taking Torvald off of the options. And Flashpoint will ban Victor, so Stush don't even have to.
I'm trying to think. I'm going through like the wheelhouse of things that they're going to pick. Vivian's still probably going to be higher on their list. That was actually something in the highlights we got to watch before this.
Right.
And a lot of their gameplay, they go for the Victor Vivian. She's just comfortable on console. Yeah. I think it was actually mentioned by some of the players that Victor and Vivian, of all of the champions, actually have some of the most pull for their aim assists. So it's a little easier overall to kind of keep going. Of course, that isn't to pull away from what they've accomplished with it, but
of course,
that is part of the reason they get so highly prioritized.
You know, it's interesting. We look at Flashpoint, and they've been so successful with the Victor. I think the reason that we see them ban out is because Victor and Vivian, as you said, are go hand in hand. So Flashpoint have the Vivian, and Stush can't answer with the Victor to have that even matchup. So that might be why we see that ban come out. A couple of picks already in the books. Flashpoint, they've got 3, Vivian, Makoa, and Grok. Stush start things off tanky with an Inara, a Khan, and we'll pair that up with a Furia.
I like the combination. I think Inara with a Furia behind her is probably easiest. Stush are going to go for a Bomb King, and that is actually something I didn't expect from this team. I expected there are a couple players I've seen play incredible Bomb Kings on console, and they're later in the day. Yeah, it's like on has-beens, I think of Galaxy when I think of that. I don't know a lot of people of Stush, but that's a good sign to me. Like, when you have the confidence, that's awesome.
And Stone Keep, maybe that's the #1 Bomb King map, but certainly a map that he's very good at. He's going to be able to deny the interior sections a little bit better, just cover that, pepper that with remote mines, and you're able to pop them a little bit later. So I like this draft. Flashpoint, Vivian, Makoa, Grok with Maldamba for the heals, Ruckus a little bit more for the front line, and then Stush finish off Inara, Khan, Furia with a Bomb King and a Drogos.
Yeah, Grok, I'm going to throw this out really fast. Pretty high win percentage so far in the console league. Drogos, literally 0. He's been played 3 games. He's lost 3 games. This is potentially going to make that 4, or it's going to give him some good numbers.
That is always, listen, I am the guy. I like stats. Stats are fun, but sometimes they're deceptive. Drogos is better than a 0. We'll see if Stush are going to be better than a 0. Taking on Flashpoint head-to-head. It's going to be on Stone Keep. We've got 2 commentators standing by. One's named Nick, the other name's Dulcin. Ready, set, go.
My name is Dulcin. Alongside me is Nick, the voices in your head, to start off the day here. And good lad getting onto the Vivian, and on the opposite side, Prosper Logic trying to flex his muscles on the Grok a little bit. And Nick, obviously, Flashpoint is the team to beat in this league. What do you look for on the side of Stush to start things off on the right foot, especially on a map like Stone Keep?
Well, they're certainly going for a bit different style here. Double Blaster was something that we've only actually seen really in the Premier League, and it was rare. It was really only like 1 or 2 teams ran this long ago, so not something that's necessarily meta anytime in the recent past. So this is a very unique kind of play. They are going to get the first blood, though, straight to the back line, going right at Flashpoint, and frankly, probably throwing him off a bit.
Yeah, playing so aggressive, and you know, Flashpoint was so bunched up there on that backside, and they really just got pushed off of the high ground. As such, Stush is going to get a 12% lead here on this point. It is going to start climbing, but they are not going to give up this high ground that easily. Prosper Logic doing his best to keep that aimer on the Stush Gaming lineup. You got to watch out for that Drogos, though. He is going to be able to find those angles to add in a little bit of extra pressure on you. He is going so low, but he is going to get the healing from Furia. So 39, 42% and climbing here from Stush Gaming, and Flashpoint looking to retake this high ground now. Makoa does get the pull-in on the Furia. She falls on the back end as well, but Prosper Logic needing to drop the Drogos, and he does just that. And Inara is the next target on his list. And she is going to be the last one up here for Stush Gaming, and Flashpoint retake the point.
I see that 360 ghost walk, Prosper. Don't think I didn't see that. That was hot. I liked it. But that's the thing I was about to talk about, is that Stush Gaming right now, they're winning because Flashpoint are going for the stereotypical clump up and go for the high ground start that we see a lot of times on Stone Keep. My concerns with this Stush Gaming comp is the second Flashpoint aren't grouped up, aren't clumped up, aren't moving slowly. The second they move down to the low ground, maybe try and take Cathedral control, that's when the Stush Gaming composition gets a little bit harder to pull off for me. And we'll see if they're able to bounce back, because Flashpoint have roared through to 99%.
Doesn't help when you lose 2 team members at the start of the fight. 99% is going to turn into 100, and it is going to turn into a 1-0. Here's the Tempest already back up for Prosper Logic. Going to find a few ticks here on the targets on the back end. Is going to drop the Bomb King as well as a result, and Flashpoint just rolling through Stush Gaming after a bit of a slower start. And it's just 1, 2, 3 kills that end up turning into huge advantages here, and now the payload's coming around the corner.
I mean, Prosper's doing his best DJ Khaled impression this game around with 2 ultimates in under 3 minutes. He's a character that can definitely and always does perform most successfully when he's snowballing a game. There's an overpower that comes up on the high ground. Kana's in a bad spot here. He's even afraid to move out and throw the truck. It's off, but he will eventually accomplish his goal. World is going to have to take a seat for a moment.
We saw Dread Serpent as well on the backside, so a few bigger ultimates starting things off here. Flashpoint won't be too worried about that. You see fully streaked out, minus the Ruckus, who just got heaved off the map. The Makoa hook coming up just short there in this moment. But Good Lad on this Vivian, going to try to hold down this high ground, and is doing a good job of doing just that. But you have to watch out for the Drogos, who's going up top. He does find him. The Vivian is going to be the one responsible for taking out the Drogos, but Prosper on the backside getting taken out by the Bomb King. So a bit of a stalled out push here, at least for the minute, thanks to this Bomb King.
We're coming up on yet another Tempest here, 86% for Prosper Logic. Makoa's Ancient Rage is ready to rock and roll. Good Lad's in a rough spot right now. Below Drogos is never where you want to be, but he manages to back off and stay alive. That's the key thing here. Still a minute left, and this payload is already knocking at the door.
Plenty of time here. One big team fight win could be all Flashpoint needs, and that could be the space that they need. They drop the Drogos on the backside. You saw the King Bomb coming out as well, but not for nothing. He does fall Legacy, dropping the Bomb King, but then falls to the Khan on the backside. So here's the Hexafire trying to find some damage. That shield is going to get shredded as long as the health bar. A double kill for World. Getting this one pushed in now. It's just to a low health Drogos. He's not going to be able to do much. Killed on the backside, and a 2-0 push here for Flashpoint. After a bit of a slower start, they found their rhythm and got that payload pushed through.
I mean, what can you say? A Hexafire 2-piece. Bus gets a quick third afterward. This is the follow-up after that initial Tempest from Prosper Logic. And just as Flashpoint were being punished for clumping up, so were Stush Gaming in a way. In the fact that they were getting shock pulsed a ton by Prosper Logic. That's the only way he's charging up that ultimate so fast. He's 4-1 out of the gate. Most of that came at the start of that round, right? He was the guy that really cracked that team fight open, that allowed everyone to kind of come in, do their thing. Drogo's 0-5 at the moment.
Yeah, it's tough.
Still getting some decent damage out there on the field. And again, I think Stush Gaming, despite being down 2-0, I have to commend them for picking up a different style of comp, picking up something, switching it up, not trying to beat Flashpoint at Flashpoint's game, and frankly putting up good fights, you know, the whole way through that round.
I mean, you could argue that to beat a team like Flashpoint, who's so tried and true, you have to throw a little something interesting out. No. The Ancient Rage is going to come out, and that is going to be the Bomb King falling as a result. The Furia next on his list, and down she goes. So a double kill in the Ancient Rage for the Makoa is going to stall out the 66% that Stush Gaming had, but now Flashpoint takes it. You got to assume a lot of that was the fast cap coming in for them, giving them a good percentage lead. Now they just zone out and look for their third point.
I think a big part about Ancient Rage is not letting him snowball, and I'd actually like to take a look at his loadout if we could, because there is a card that after you get that first elimination, and he is running it to some level, Rampage, once he gets that first kill, It's much easier for Legacy to get the second, maybe even the third.
Right.
Dragon Punch King Bomb is coming here. It's going to blow Prosper right out of the air, unfortunate. Eventually ults come through, and eventually Stush Gaming are going to get some kills. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I don't really like that Khan just follows Makoa around the whole time. You're not going to stop him. It's a gigantic CC immune ultimate, and everyone's already on the run. Nobody's interested in really burning him down. So the fact that he tries to pursue that kill isn't a great idea, but Stush Gaming with comeback mechanic
able to snag themselves their first point here on Stone Keep. You did see the Dragon Punch coming up just short there, choosing not to go for what looked like a Makoa that would have been available, but potentially just a little bit of a zoning ultimate. So Stush Gaming, was there anything that you could see that they changed up maybe that allowed them to get that capture? Was it just finding a pick that they then took advantage of?
They get a decent amount of point capture from Inara, just standing around for as long as Inara does. The thing that they then do well is they just use their great suite of ultimates. They have Overpower, Seismic Crash, Inflame, King Bomb, Dragon Punch. These are all things that are almost guaranteed picks to come through. Aside from the Inflame, that's just a TY buff. But it's much harder, I think, for Flashpoint to sort of weather that storm because that's a lot of CC immunity coming in, that's a lot of damage coming in, and they don't really have a great counter engage aside from Ancient Rage, which was already down.
But now they're starting to roll a beautiful hook there from the Makoa. Doesn't actually get the kill for himself, but does help start off this fight well. That's going to be a Khan soon to follow, as well as a Bomb King. So Legacy playing huge right now on the Makoa. Just a minute ago, he didn't actually get the kill for it, but he yoinked the Drogos right out of the air, I think, and that really opened things up here for Flashpoint. So not wanting to give up easy. They got a minute and 15 seconds left here. Still a little bit to go here on the side of Stush, but World doing his best on this Ruckus to keep them zoned out, but he's going low on the backside. The Damba is going to help keep him up and healthy, at least at the moment. Stush Gaming regrouping for another push here for themselves.
Tried to zone out there, ends up being kind of a wash there. Big damage on a Prosper in the back line. He won't go down just yet. One more bomb to the back line, and it's not quite enough.
Not quite enough, but what is enough is the damage on the Ruckus, so that's a big loss here for Flashpoint, going down very early on. The rest of their health bars going low. The Damba's so low on the backside, but Good Lad doing his job as the Vivian, cleaning up the Drogos out of the air. So that's what you need that hit scan presence to do, especially on an obnoxious champion like Drogos, always flying up and around. Prosper getting stuck a few times right there on the face, goes down as well. But World doing his best on this Ruckus to clean up the targets who are low. He is going low himself, but that's so unfortunate. Yeah, that has got to be one of the most aggravating things.
I can kill everyone. Who would I want to kill first? And just because of the indecision, you end up killing no one, and this could come back to haunt them. They do end up getting caught at the start of this fight now, and that gives me much more confidence for Flashpoint.
Good Lad starting off with 2, looking for 3 onto the Inara. She is going to be a tanky champion to kill. Drogos in behind the Flashpoint lineup falls himself, and as such, Flashpoint 3-1 defense here on Stone Keep. So they're going into this final point fight looking for the win in map number 1.
Pretty much every ultimate up and available as well. The thing about this Drogos pick that is going to struggle is kind of what we've seen who's been killing him, right? They have 2 pure hit scan threats. Prosper Logic is technically a third in a way. He's going to get a lot of those bounces, and he's going to be able to have like a hit scan tracking-esque sort of pressure on him as long as it's in range. And as long as we're talking about being in range, I would wager Legacy's going to hit his shots on Drogos as well. The thing that made Drogos viable against pure hit scan in the past was the fact that his talent selection was combustible, and Fire Spit was his main way of doing damage and getting poke and anti-heal and just value in general. The fact that he didn't have to be out in the open. Fire Spit is one of the most unique abilities in the game because it can do damage around corners and line of sight breaks where nobody else can really do that, but it's his Wormjet's territory now.
Wormjet's trying to find him those angles, but Flashpoint looks like they're, at least for the moment, going to take the key portion of this map back, but Chico doing his best to get out the damage while he's staying alive. He is going to finally go down on the backside. So 2 for blue, 1 for red to start off this fight. The Seismic Crash comes in, locks down Good Lad, but where's the follow-up damage? There isn't any. It's just the Inara. Now the Damba doing a little bit of body block and trying to keep him out of it. Stush Gaming, in the meantime, found themselves a 66% on the point, but that is the quick cap. Now Flashpoint trying to zone out for the win here on Stone Keep.
I think where's the follow-up is probably the best question to ask for that fight. It feels very disjointed for Stush Gaming after they get started, right? The fact that there's a solo 1v1 Inara ult happening, trying to walk down a Vivian who's likely running a lot of movement speed in her loadout, who's being currently pocket healed by a Maldamba. It's just not the best use of your time.
Yeah, definitely. There you go. One step ahead. 30% extra movement speed. Here come the Sentinels trying to clean up this fight. Legacy, that's a Makoa down at the beginning of this fight. Stush Gaming ends up being able to get the touch, get the point. So at least prolonging their lives here on Stone Keep a little bit. Prosper Logic finally cleaning up the Drogos on the back end, but that's all this fight is going to be for. A little bit of cleanup. Good lad. Drops the Bomb King as well. So 1 for 1 on both sides, but the most important stat, Stush Gaming capturing the point here.
And that's actually, I'm going to put that as a misplay on Good Lad. I think he's sitting there staring at that wall, not doing anything.
Right.
If you're not going to fire or try and put pressure onto somebody else, you can easily go out and touch that point. Hell, you're covered by the wall that's currently preventing you from doing damage. So I think he would have been safe to walk out, touch that point, get the overtime, loop back right around to where he was sitting from. That overtime is going to buy his team somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds. I don't know exactly how long the first overtime meter lasts, but he is certainly able to, I think, do that safely.
Definitely. You got to peep the 25 streak on the Damba up there. Not dropping. You saw some good play from him earlier, keeping the body block in on the Inara while the Vivian was going low. But got to give it to Damba. The 25 streak on a healer is a hard thing to overcome, especially in a game like Paladins. But at this point, Stush Gaming looking to break out of just that initial point capture. The payload hasn't moved very far. They got 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Stone Keep, not the longest map. They will have some time. Look like Overpower got World thrown off the map there. So that's a big ultimate down now for Stush Gaming, but potentially buying them a little bit of room to get this pushed up here.
Still with just 1 minute left on the clock. Haven't even broken the base yet, so taking their time a little bit getting this one going, but sometimes that can happen. And now here's where the double hit scan threat is really going to be felt. He can't have that angle. He can't be out in the open. We've seen, Simsilo play that angle a little bit on PC, but that's just not something that can be done with so much hit scan pressure on the board. Seismic Crash comes out, but it doesn't manage to get the kill on a Good Lad.
It's not able to get the kill, and as a result, he's pouring out damage here onto the Drogos. You see 2 red kills off the map on the backside, but the Drogos going down is going to be a huge launch here for Stush Gaming.
Totem.
Beautiful totem there, keeping himself alive, giving himself some healing. Now it's onto the Bomb King, looking for a kill onto the Ruckus, but he's going to have to get himself back and get himself healthy. He is able to do just that. So Stush Gaming looking like, at least for the moment, they're going to try to back off, regroup a little bit. They probably got time for one more fight here, provided they don't all get swept. But they have the respawn advantage, does Flashpoint.
Somewhat mismanagement of the clock, I feel, for Stush Gaming. They don't have big ultimates now available for the next round. If Flashpoint are going to win this round or in this team fight, this defense, without any ultimates, Stush Gaming are going to be resource starved in the next round.
Doesn't help you win a fight when your Bomb King gets hooked right off the bat, but Chico getting aggressive here, finds one, but ends up dropping himself on the backside at the hands of Prosper Logic. Somebody's got to get a touch on it to keep it from going through. It's the Inara. She's going to be tough to deal with, but she is going to be the last one to deal with, at least at the moment. Some respawns coming in. She gets hooked off, keeping herself alive, but she does fall. Now the Bomb King, next target. Doesn't matter though. Defense successful here for Flashpoint, so 3-2 onto Stone Keep. Flashpoint looking again at a game-winning point capture here. World, beautiful.
I like
beautiful.
That. Little hop up onto the wall. No, I can't be safe.
I'll take the free high ground, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And tons of damage coming out from Prosper at the moment. You can kind of see the way he capstones that round has been pretty beautiful. Good Lad and World are sat about in this 2-3 position, roughly tied the majority of the game. Either of those characters can get out so much damage in this fight, but when you're looking at 11-4, 3-2, 12-3, 10-3, 15-8. Frankly, Flashpoint should have put this game away already. I think, obviously we talked about last round, not getting the touch on the objective was, I think, a mistake for them. These are mistakes that are going to be punished by teams at LAN for sure.
And the Furia doing a huge amount of healing, rather. Nice stacked ultimates there. The Tempest into the Dread Serpent is going to get Stush Gaming low. Flashpoint does not want to waste any time getting the advantage. They've given up too much too early on in the past. Stush Gaming does find 41% here on the point, but the Inara falls, and that is going to be Flashpoint retaking the 22 streak on the Grok, certainly helping here. So 3-2 and climbing here on the point for Flashpoint. That was just a very fast, very aggressive team fight that they took.
Great shock pulse there. It's going to get everybody dismounted up on the high ground. They have certainly some take-back tools here with the Dragon Punch King Bomb. It's happened a lot of times before. Can Flashpoint find a way to beat it now?
They need to. They do have the ultimate advantage back on their side. The Inara's on the point. That's where you want her. The Dragon Punch is up and available, but as you said, he's waiting for that Ancient Rage to go down. In the meantime, though, 2 blues up on the kill kill feed. Here is the Dragon Punch. Finally, his eyes are going to be on the Makoa, and he does find him. So Legacy dropping, but Chico does as well. Here comes the King Bomb. Who's he going to find? He is going to find the Damba, so that's a healer. That's a big target, but he's not able to clean him up. He finally does. But Prosper Logic gets out the Tempest, cleans up some kills here, 96, and potentially climbing here, but it's a bit of a back and forth fight. Neither team, that's an Inara. That's going to be hard for a Vivian to deal with. The Totem does finally come out, but now everyone's on the Inara, 99%. Just need a touch now from Flashpoint, but the Inara's not going to let that happen. Here comes the Khan now getting hooked off to the point. The Bomb King coming back in as well, and this is just so back and forth. Respawns from both teams happening all at once. The Drogo's now going low. Overtime ticking away, but who's at 4? Chico finding 2. Nico Noob doing his best as well, but now it's going to be a Bomb King point tanking. That's going to be tough to deal with. Overtime starting to tick away right now. Just need to get a touch. Either team doing their best to just keep this from going through. Dread Serpent coming out for the second time in this full team fight. The Inara goes down. Flashpoint finally.
Dave's blue in the face. Take a breath, brother.
Talk about something. Just
okay. That's. I mean, a lot goes back and forth there. Right. And in those types of fights, it comes down to instinct, right? They're running out of resources. The plan is not in place anymore. They didn't have a plan stretching 3 minutes deep into that fight. You have an opener plan, and then you start to call out your follow-up kills and stuff like that. Stuff like that is going to start to fall apart. Flashpoint are going to have the better instincts going down the stretch. You can see they dominated the game the whole way through, and they're going to be the ones to take that.
Flashpoint doing what they do best, taking a game 1, starting the things off very well for themselves here. To break down game number 1, let's send it back to the desk. Here's F-Dot and Goremizer.
Thanks a lot, guys. Now, Flashpoint might be doing what they do best, but they didn't do it as cleanly as a lot of people might have expected. Gore and I kind of set this one up for you guys as, all right, Stush, they're the up-and-comers. They're going to do a lot of learning. They almost did some winning. It was close.
And I was actually really surprised because normally, and this is when you see it, like when you have a team 2-0, Flashpoint, they know what they're doing, and then you have a team that's 0-2, you're trying to figure out where we, like, what are we doing? You don't expect that kind of coordination from a fight, and that's the thing that really caught me off guard about them. Every single fight, like Nick was saying at the end, they came into it with a plan, and for the most part, they executed quite a bit of it.
That was really the game for me, was that Stush understands the game on that secondary level that you need to understand. When you are playing in ranked, it's very much hit your shots, understand the basic maneuvering of the maps, and that's enough. When you make it to the competitive side of things, you need that secondary, that tertiary level almost. And what we see out of Stush Gaming was, yes, they picked their composition. I noted the Bomb King would be great for some side when you're looking for cathedral control and some of those indoor areas. You're going to see Bomb King really excel there. And then Nick brought it up on the broadcast itself, whereas Flashpoint's composition is going to group up. That's the typical way to deal with Stone Keep, and that's how Stush tried to tackle things, and that's why they wound up pushing this to a 4-3.
And I do want to give some shout-outs, because Grok is one of those areas that, I mean, you can play him as damage, most people will play him as damage. His healing is not something to ignore, but this is the presence that you kind of want to see. Going into the first round, or after the first round, I think we had Prosper at 4-1. And then after the second round, he was 4-3. He did no kills. He got more assists during that round, but it just didn't progress. He ends the game at 14-4, though, and that's the kind of, again, the changes you need to see when you're recognizing what's going right, what's going wrong, how exactly are we approaching this maybe in the one fight that didn't go well. In round 2, what am I doing wrong? He obviously fixed it.
And that's, again, I sort of laid everything out, what takes you from sort of level 0 to level 1 in a competitive play. How you got to learn the tertiary stuff. You got to learn how to play against the opposition specifically. And then what brings you to that next level? How do you become a team like Flashpoint? And that's being able to bounce back, identify what went wrong, and change and adjust. The adaptation is really what makes a different type of team for sure. So game 1 in the books. We'll move on to game number 2 here. Stush trying to push this one, and it will be Splitstone Quarry.
This is a very interesting pick to come through, and it's one of those things. Splitstone Quarry went from a maybe map 4, maybe map 5, sometimes map 3 for a team that's like confident on it, they know what they can do. Having it come in map 2 is pretty weird.
Well, we've got Frog Isle, Bright Marsh, and Jaguar Falls all banned, and those are maps that we're usually seeing played.
True. And this is actually one of those maps as well that and this isn't necessarily, it doesn't even pertain to console meta, PC meta. Like, this is just good for those players that are like very big on hit scan.
Yeah.
If you want to go for a sniper, you want to go for a Victor, you want a Vivian, like the stuff we've seen maybe Flashpoint trend to a lot, this is a really, really solid map for it, just because it's nice open on the point. It gives you a good amount of aggression to be able to keep that control.
And again, Flashpoint might have banned it in game number 1, but Victor has absolutely been one of the claims to fame for Prosper Logic. So this time around, Stush go, well, you guys banned it, but we're not going to take the bait. Ban out of Victor alongside Torvald, Khan, and Talus. So option over to here to Stush, and it'll be a Grover first pick.
This is actually one of the maps when Grover as a support was kind of being brought in
Right.
as a support
The
and
big change.
only being the support. This was the map that it would work on, where it's like, cool, if you just play over here in this specific style, you can make it work. And that was the thing that was like, well, okay, so you have to play in a very specific area, and you have to play it in a very certain way, and your comp has to match it, and you also have to buy this item, and it's like, okay, there's way too many stipulations. Now it is a little bit easier for him to make it work. You still want to kind of play off to the side. You're going to try to stay in cover, obviously, your
Still
support,
some
but
stipulations.
you can make it work a lot easier.
So that's what Stush are going to hope to do. They're going to pair Sylvanas' buddy up with Makoa and Inara. So a very tanky, very thick lineup here for Stush, going up against Vivian Grok and Barrick. Once again, pretty Harris favorite character.
Barrick, Grok, Vivian. Normally I like seeing Grok against a Barrick, just because very easy
Chain,
targets. But
yeah.
again, you're looking at long range, you're looking at some hit scan damage, you're looking at a lot of control. And admittedly, Barrick, like, I kind of hate saying this sometimes when it happens, but Barrick is really, really good as a point tank when you play him properly.
Yep. I mean, you just need to stick there. He's got the shields. He's got the turrets. You know, that's playstyle be damned. It's effective. Stush finish off their draft with a Leon and a Drogos. And then Flashpoint on the other side, finishing off with a Ruckus and another Maldamba. So a nice sort of balanced breakfast for everybody here.
I'm actually thinking that Stush, based on the way Drogos was playing last game, they have the right mentality with it. Adding a Makoa instead of the Khan, being able to keep this Inara a little bit more solidified healing, I'd say, from the Grover than the Furia. I actually think this is going to be a lot closer of a game than Game 1.
Well, Game 1 was already hella close. Stush, the up-and-comers, trying to tackle the Goliath. Game 2, take us away.
Game 2 is here, and not really super different lineups from what we saw in that previous matchup. The Leon coming through, the Makoa going on to the opposite team here, but Stush elect to go with that Drogos again.
It's the same composition from Flashpoint, barring the Makoa, and trading out the Makoa for a Barrick is an objective downgrade here. Not just because of my opinions on the character, it's just the way it is. So Stush Gaming have a more solid lineup this time around. They have the Grover, they have the Inara, they have the Makoa as well. Leon is rock solid. As long as this Drogos doesn't get owned and slapped around by the 3 hit scans of Flashpoint, I honestly like Stush Gaming's composition better.
Certainly the storyline to watch in this game, at least initially. You see the power of that Leon up here on the high ground, just pouring out damage. The Vivian going low on the back end, Damba keeping her up as best as he can, and the Grok going low as well. So Stush Gaming at least off to a good start. They find the first blood onto World, so that's a Ruckus that's now down. Point not really going either way. Initial edge onto Flashpoint, but Stush Gaming now retaking. Falls to Good Lad. There's that hit scan present. So Chico dropping early on. The Good Lad, he's one of the better Vivian players we've seen here in the console league. Inara is going to be his next target, but she's not going to be easy to kill. 45% now for Stush Gaming. Good Lad doing his best to keep this damage out and coming. The Barrick now coming back to the point. On the backside, you see the Ruckus getting hooked by the Makoa, but that's not going to bother him too much. Inara is going to go down, so that's a huge point tank dropped for Stush Gaming, and Good Lad keeping the damage up. They retake 60% and climbing now. Fight about to break out here on the back end.
And again, I feel like I'm watching the same game play out in front of my eyes. It's an early Stush Gaming pressure, forcing Flashpoint back a little while, but farming away all ultimate charge. Prosper Logic comes in with a Tempest, and he kicks the door wide open for Flashpoint, and they grab the first payload.
They do grab the first payload, and here is that back-end fight that we've always kind of seen. Maybe just a little bit of a late reaction from Stush Gaming, but trying not to give up any ground here on this payload. The Damba on the backside is going to be the target of the Drogos here, at least for the minute, but he is not going to be able to find him. The Ruckus is low as well, so you got to be careful here if you're Flashpoint. The Sentinels are going to come out from Vivian, find herself a little extra damage, but watch out if you're the Leon. She's able to keep herself out, but World is doing a great job finding himself a zone. The Hexafire is available if he wants it. Going to choose not to use it just yet, so just a little bit of tit for tat. Both teams losing one, at least for the moment, but initial edge to Stush for stalling out the payload where it's at.
Big commitment here from Goodlad. He makes a risky rotation, but it pays off to the tune of Leon's life. It's going to pay off to the tune of Inara's life as well. One of his Sentinels is going to die, unfortunately, but that's all right. It's already just a little bit of DPS, and Vivian can certainly afford to lose some. And Flashpoint just trying to keep up this pressure. And
they are going to keep up the pressure. The Drogo's nearly falling, finds himself some healing, but World finds himself too, so that's a big advantage here for Flashpoint. Going to be able to get a lot of ground on this payload, at least initially. Grover being zoned out here by World, doing a great job on this Ruckus, finding himself that proper positioning, but now Inara is going to be in the face. She doesn't have any healing, at least at the moment. She's got to find her. The Tempest is going to get her nice and low, get the rest of the Stush Gaming members a little tick down here on damage. Not too much follow-up, at least at the moment. But Prosper Logic's going to feel just fine using that ultimate whenever he wants. He's farming it up so quickly, already back to 10%, but now he has an Inara to deal with. Puts down the totem, keeps himself healthy, wealthy, and alive. He's going to back off here. Stush Gaming, both of these teams really just bashing heads into one another right now. Not really a lot of downtime between these engagements. Neither team wanting to give up an inch.
Yeah, nobody really doing a great job peeling for Prosper Logic or helping him get that kill. Inara, it makes a pretty risky move by walking down a Grok, right? Obviously, you gotta just walk it down when you're Inara, right? Grok and Inara is not the most mobile fight there is, so I think that's a very easy fight to kind of rotate to and be relevant in, but nobody comes to the rescue. Prosper Logic was the first one to die in that last fight, and he's also going to die here now.
Drops again, sort of on the back end of the same fight that he died at the beginning of. You have to look at the ultimate advantage here as well. You got 5 up on the side of Stush Gaming. Call it 3 with the Vivian ultimates coming up soon as well. 5 seconds left, 50% of the way to go. This will be a tough one for Flashpoint to come back into. Don't look. Well, they aren't going to come back into it. Stush Gaming, successful defense. No ultimates burn there on the back side, so good utility coming into this next point fight.
And kind of rough on the slash lines for a couple of these Flashpoint players. 03, 01, 02 for Legacy Storm and Prosper Logic. Great first round there for Alalal on 6-1's Makoa. Got to figure this one out, though, for sure. Can't just rely on these Tempests to win the fight. I think there was a moment there, the second, I believe, Tempest of that round that you mentioned that there wasn't a lot of follow-up for. I think there could have been. They sort of had Stush Gaming's on the rope with that one, and if some more kills started to come through there, that's when things get really scary and start to get very dire. But again, Stush Gaming have drafted themselves a very excellent composition, and I think with proper play could take this game. This is their map, I'm being told, kind of by our eye in the sky, Mr. Blue, the guru himself. So Stush Gaming have everything they need to win this game, and if they don't win this game, Dave, then I don't have a lot of confidence for them overall.
Definitely not, but it does help when you're able to drop Prosper Logic at the beginning of these fights. That's the second or third time we've seen it happen here. The Ruckus off-screen getting hooked down by the Makoa. He's not going to drop, at least initially. Leon finding herself some zone, finding herself some damage. Here's the Dome Shield, going to keep himself alive, at least for a moment, with that bowling ball perk as well. The card is going to keep him alive. Not going to matter, Legacy drops as well. So Nico Noob doing good job, good damage here on this Leon, kind of being the driving force behind some of this attack. Stush Gaming off to a 50% lead, and they barely burned anything there at the end of that fight. Speaking of getting burned, there's the Damba ult, finds himself two, not able to clean up the Drogos on the back side. Goodlad does find the Leon, so that's a good first kill here for Flashpoint, rather. And they are going to be able to start putting some pressure here onto the Stush Gaming side, retaking the point. Those tanks are just going to be back. Some zoning now coming out for Flashpoint. No ultimates available for them. 3 still for Stush Gaming, so they certainly have a chance to retake. Dragon Punch following up that seismic crash. Who's he going to find? He's got to weave his way through. He cleans up Prosper Logic, but dies to Goodlad in the end. So a 1-for-1 trade there on the backside of his ultimate. Not ideal, but at least good with the Grok being the one going down. So Stush Gaming 78% and climbing here on this point.
Flashpoint have to stay calm here because they're running out of resources. Stush Gaming are not. The Enlightenment as well as the Whirlwind will come through, but Goodlad still manages to take down Leon. They're still trading out and they're staying alive in this fight.
They are staying alive, and that's exactly what you need to do here. A lot of back and forth, so many back and forth point fights here. Goodlad finding himself 2, World finding himself. Make that 3 now for Goodlad, so coming really alive in that last fight on an H streak. Flashpoint 99%, make it 100, going up 2-1 here on Splitstone Quarry. And
yeah,
I don't know, there's a lot to break down there in the sense that both teams seem to have the edge at any given point in that fight, but Flashpoint end up being the ones to turn it into points on the board.
I think what it really comes down to is Stush Gaming didn't get a lot of value out of the 2 ultimates that they were hanging over the heads of Flashpoint, and at some point it would be a good replay to take a look at, but that triple kill there from Goodlad, it's as a result of things getting hectic and people aren't really looking at Vivian anymore.
Right.
And the second you stop looking at Vivian and she can go uncontested, even for 3 to 5 seconds in a fight, that 3 to 5 seconds is enough time to get that triple kill and just end the fight.
Another Tempest coming out from Prosper Logic. Going to get the Inara nice and low. Chico drops as well, so that's a big loss for Stush Gaming. Getting hooked in is Legacy, and he is going to fall. But Good Lad finding himself too, continuing the roll from that earlier point fight on an 11 streak now. 8, 11, 6 are the 3 streaks for the middle members of this Flashpoint lineup. The hook does come out onto the Ruckus. That's not necessarily the ideal target, but the Dread Serpent as well. 1 for 1 here so far in this fight, and things are starting to heat up as Stush Gaming falls. This could be the final point fight for this round, but doing tons of damage is Chico trying to find the Damba, unable to find him on the back end. He has to be careful here. He does have plenty of follow-up. He does. The Worm Jet's helping him find that angle. Now Ruckus is in his eyes, so that's 2 down now on the side of Flashpoint. Make it 3. A lowly Grok being the last line of defense, at least for this initial fight, trying to keep himself from staggering these death timers. But Stush Gaming not wanting to give them an inch here. Flashpoint finally getting regrouped, have plenty of time, not a lot of distance left to go on this payload, but yet again we see a Stush Gaming ultimate advantage. Vivian ultimate coming out early on as well.
Yep, Vivian ultimate's fairly unique in that it's just, as you can see, these 2 Sentinels on the top left, top right. It's DPS and they're stagnant, so they can just sit there for as long as they are going to live. They do have HP, they can be killed, but they can be recharged as they are out. So one of the few ultimates in the game that recharges themselves with the damage that you do with them.
Bit of a fun ultimate.
Yeah,
certainly you like it if you're a hit scan player because it's just a flat DPS increase.
Vivian knows what she does. She does a very simple task, and that's right trigger, and that's pretty much it.
And Good Lad is one of the best at it, finding himself 2 to start things off, as well as Ali Lol on the start of this fight. So 2 for 2, both teams finding a couple kills for themselves, but not going to matter. Another successful defense here from Stush, but sort of what you expect on Splitstone, Corey. Oh, and here's Good Lad.
Yep. So as you can see, people stop and look at him. Makoa's getting shot in the back of the head, turning to a Gnar. There's a Ruckus in her way, right? He just has people in front of him. Drogoz is getting shot in the back, and that was only the span of maybe 5 or so seconds, and it's over. The next thing I want to talk about here is the fact that Stush Gaming have all these ultimates available. They're in a great spot. Flashpoint have almost nothing. This is the point where we were talking about they have a better comp. This is essentially what would be equivalent to a home court advantage because it's their map.
They picked it.
If you don't win this team fight, I don't know what team fight you're going to win.
Right.
You have the better comp. You have all the ults. You're on home court. This is it. This is where Stush Gaming need to beat Flashpoint if they're going to do it today.
Well, the point of, picking a map where you know that you're going to be able to take a lot of the defensive points, at the end of the day, you still have to finally win a point fight in order to win the game.
Open it with an ult.
Ultimates up and available, looking to use some. Not any of them coming out yet. A lot of damage is coming out on the side of Good Lad, so keeping up right where he left off. Still no ultimates used here from Stush. He does have the Ancient Rage. If he wants to use it on the Ruckus, instead he's just going to be annoying, get in behind him, do some damage. Prosper Logic drops on the opposite side of the map. Nice hook there under the Ruckus. Here is the Ancient Rage, so keeping himself healthy, doing some damage. Not able to find anyone, at least at the moment, but now he has a Vivian and a Damba. The timeout is going to come soon here from this Ancient Rage, so he has to be careful. 750 health, 500 health. There is some follow-up from his team, able to keep himself alive, at least at the moment. The Makoa actually makes it out alive there, which is huge. I don't know if that was luck or proper timing, whatever it was. He used it very well, but here's the Dragon Punch. You got to be careful here. He does find the Legacy, so that's a big point tank barrack. That's now going to go down. Nico Noob finding Good Lad as well. This could be the point fight, and it is the point capture that Stush Gaming needed. So 3-2 here. Stush Gaming utilizing some of those ultimates as you wanted, finding themselves a point fight victory finally.
Not only do they use ultimates, as if they didn't have enough going for them, Flashpoint blundered a few ultimates. Storm Avatar threw a Dread Serpent out right as he thought, I think, Ancient Rage was supposed to be ending, but it hadn't, unfortunately. And so he gets no value for the Dread Serpent. And frankly, that was the biggest turnaround for the amount of value that Ancient Rage got. I didn't think it was a very good Ancient Rage before that happened, but that's all spilt milk at this point. That is the Stush Gaming payload. And they now get to see what they can do with it on offense.
You saw Prosper Logic pulling out the Tempest to start things off. Maybe just get a little bit of damage in. A lot of streaks now on the side of Stush Gaming, but a lot of low health bars as well. They don't care. Nico Noob finding one for himself, one other on Flashpoint falling as well. The Ruckus World, rather, falling early on in this fight as well. But
is
Now their eyes are
dangerous.
turned on to the end of the game here. They could be pushing for the win. They have 1 minute and 26 seconds left. Not a lot of distance to go. One team fight win could be the win here for Stush Gaming. Flashpoint in the backline. Legacy drops Rain, so that's a big loss. The Inara going down very early on here. World doing his best to keep them out of their base, but neither team really investing too much to start things off here. Flashpoint have 2 ultimates, 2 nice ultimates, a quick charging Grok ultimate as well. Got to be careful through the ruckus. A loss here. One individual pick could be the end here for Flashpoint, able to weather the storm just for a moment.
They've got time to get this reset, and they lose Inara. Of course, probably the most important piece of their pushing puzzle. You have the Dragon Punch, they have the Seismic Crash. There's a lot of ways to win this fight, I think. As it started brewing here around the corner, just a little bit of poke. Inconsequentials, Prosper's already got his ultimate ready and available. All of Flashpoint have their ultimates ready and available, and I'd like them to use them sooner rather than later here, because once you lose this kind of momentum on Splitstone, you're going to be in a tough spot to bring it back.
And the Tempest does come out sooner rather than later. Finds some damage, does not find any kills. Rain instead finds Good Lad World, dropping the Grover. The Inara falls as well. Nice hook there from the Makoa, and it looks like Flashpoint are getting wiped here, and they are, and Stush Gaming look to be in the driver's seat, potentially taking game number 2 here, and they are. The respawns are not in time unless the Vivian can get a touch, but she cannot. Stush Gaming find themselves a point fight, convert that into a payload push, find themselves a victory here against Flashpoint. That's hard to come by.
They have a really strong suite of ultimates. That's something to look at that I'll reference from time to time, but sometimes we only talk about, you know, the base kits and, you know, this and that when we're looking at comps overall, but sometimes you have an overwhelming suite of ultimates that's like Ancient Rage, Dragon Punch, Whirlwind. It's a lot of heavy-hitting stuff. Tempest is great because it's up all the time, but when you're being bore down upon by an Ancient Rage, Dragon Punch, and it's all being supplemented by like a Whirlwind, it's like it's tough really to slow that down.
Lots going against them, but Stush Gaming able to take one off Flashpoint. That's not something you see every day. Friends at the desk, break it down.
Well, it's not something we've seen at all. Flashpoint 2-0 so far throughout this course of the Paladins Console League. And right now, I mean, I am excited. I don't know if y'all can tell, but when I see a team like Stush, no expectations, no superlatives, hell, no wins, 0-2 coming into this week number 3. Sure, every now and then, you know, even the best teams will trip and fall, but this was a Stush win from the minute they walked out of the base.
And the thing is again, you looked at what they did in game 1. They had a strategy. Sometimes it fell flat. Sometimes it did exactly what they wanted to. They altered the small things like, okay, what was going wrong? Well, Khan didn't give us that much. Fury didn't give us that much. Change those two and then just play with the rest. You did pick up the Leon this time instead, but for the most part, the Drogoz was putting in a lot of work. I want to give Leon the shout out because the hit scan pressure was incredible, but a lot of what they did was fix those small details.
One really interesting about these thing about these post-game stats is the damage numbers. Flashpoint's damage dealers, Prosper Logic and Good Lad, these guys output more damage than the DPS on Stush Gaming. But Stush Gaming, the reason they take away this win, which is very similar to why they almost won game number 1, is the numbers are deceptive. It's about application of that damage. The damage that Stush brought out was almost always important and effective, whereas Flashpoint damage, I don't want to call it superfluous or ineffective. Damage is damage, but it didn't always result in the kill. It didn't always result in an effective kill. There's a huge difference between a kill and an effective kill. And almost everything Stush brought to the table wound up having a consequence, and everything was meticulously planned. And that's why Stush Gaming not only takes away the win, Gore, but impresses me.
And there was even a point actually towards the end that Nick had even pointed out. There was a point Prosper Logic's throwing some shock pulses, getting some good damage. His ult's charged, and they healed up everything right afterward. And it's just like, okay, you're like, again, the damage number goes up, nothing actually comes out of it. And that's that. We've mentioned it before. I've mentioned it a lot. That conversion, the damage to kills. Like, if you get top damage, that's awesome. Can you actually do anything with it?
And then, the secondary conversation. Kills are cool, but are they effective kills?
Can they actually do something?
I've got a phrase that I use across many different games. The stuff after the stuff. What do you do after you get the kill? Well, you win the game, and then you move on to game number 3. Map's coming through in just a moment. We'll see where everybody winds up. And it's Serpent Beach. We're going to go hang out on the beach.
And this is, I mean, you mentioned last time, Frog Isle, Bright Marsh, Jaguar Falls, like, they're probably 3 of the most staple maps. You have 5, and I would say Splitstone Quarry is on that, or not Splitstone, Stone Keep is on that list, and then Serpent Beach is on that list. So coming here, not too surprising, especially for Flashpoint. Like, that's kind of the, they just took us to Splitstone. They just beat us on Splitstone. Let's get back to normality. Let's relax a little bit, find something we're comfortable with, and then see if maybe we do try to pick up that victor one more time.
So Flashpoint, 2-0 throughout the PCL up until this point. They're having some trouble here against Stush. Does Flashpoint have a second gear? Do they have another? Can they go harder than they are right now?
I think so, and actually that is the thing that opens it. Torvald coming through first, right? So again, and this is something like I'm harping on Prosper Logic because it's like, okay, you had one good game as Grok, one bad game as Grok. You've had a lot of consistency overall on the Victor, and that is like kind of the, okay, you've been comfortable for a couple of weeks, now you're like having to fully flesh out a little bit more. But this opens up so many doors to be comfortable. Yeah, you lose the Vivian, but she didn't do enough. Like, she did amazing last game, but it wasn't enough overall for the entire team. You get a Torvald Koga, you get a Torvald anything, and you're set. So this is a really solid lineup, I think, for Flashpoint to feel not only comfortable, but make a comeback. I
agree. I think the Torvald Koga does things. When we talk about Vivian and Victor, those characters are, I don't want to say interchangeable, but they're very similar. Whereas Torvald Koga does Torvald Koga, and really nothing else can replicate that. So with that in mind, 3 characters in Torvald, Koga, Khan, and Tyra here for Flashpoint. And they're going to look for a final character to round up their draft. It'll be a Genos, so a nice, we'll see where that winds up, whether it's that hybrid or just straight healer. Stush, on the other hand, Makoa, Vivian, Leon, Ashe, and Aceras.
Honestly, if they had had a healer a little bit earlier on, I wouldn't have been surprised to see Stush go for a Jogas again. Like, I feel like it's been doing a lot of work. I like the way their lineup is coming here because I think it's going to be a lot more easily confirmed damage that they're going to be able to put out. But I think Drogo's opened up a lot of doors for them in the last couple games that might just remain shut this time.
We were seeing Stush kind of use Drogos to overpower the point tanks. Now we're going to see more of a challenge. Ashe will be there. Torvald and Koga will be on the other side. Who takes the victory? I pose that question to Pretty Hair and to Dulcet.
Game 3 it is, Serpent Beach it is, and Koga Torvald it is. That's not something we've seen. I mean, that is something we've seen, but not something we've been able to see, at least. After
you see
I think we saw it week 1.
And then you're reminded as to why we don't really see it very often.
Yeah, so Prosper, they're keeping that Victor out of his hands. He's played Grok a couple times. Now on the Koga, you assume that's where a lot of the Torvald shields will be going. Tyra, another good option for some of those shields. Khan, another good option for some of those shields. So very scary offensive lineup here for Flashpoint.
And you can see just the amount of damage coming through. Yeah, wow. Makoa, that is the highest HP character in the game. That just got obliterated. And this is a very scary lineup to give Flashpoint. Not a bad composition drafted by any means from Stush Gaming, but just a very scary one to let Flashpoint specifically have. People are just going to explode almost before they have time to react.
I mean, could you say that it's a lineup that has high potential but requires maybe a specific style of play in order to make work? It seems like a very aggressive lineup. You have to fully engage on these fights and fully be ready to find it in Prosper Logic. It helps when you have somebody like Prosper who's not going to be missing a lot of shots. He is going to have the aggression to get in behind Stush Gaming. 72% in climbing here for Flashpoint on the point. Prosper Logic, they got to find some way to deal with them. Find 4 for yourself, why don't you? Put down some spray, please. No, he's not going to do it, but he is going to find himself a Quadra. Stush Gaming just seemingly didn't turn around there and have an answer for him.
You know, at this point, you just don't do it. Don't give this. It's too dangerous. You can beat it, but if it's if it gets 1 kill, then you just don't have what you need to survive the onslaught. And that's before Tyra even really got involved in that fight. Right now, it's all, I mean, the hunting party is probably picked up just so Prosper Logic can rip people to shreds that much faster.
That's true. Hunting party as well.
Too much at a point, right? Prosper has been stuck. He's an incredible DPS player that's been stuck on Grok all damn day. And the fact that he's going to be off the leash now is something that Stush Gaming need to respect, I think, this whole series. You don't have to ban Koga. Ban Torvald all series long against against Flashpoint. Never, ever let Torvald through against this team.
Storm Avatar finally finds a kill. for somebody not named Prosper Logic in this game, but Prosper Logic picking up right where he left off says, I want the rest of them. He is going to get aggressive. Minute and 28 seconds left, just a hair's width away from going in here, but with a guy like Prosper Logic, double kill. I think every single one of his kills has been some sort of multi-kill. Make it a triple as well.
And I'm going to be honest. I love Prosper, and I think he's an incredible player. But what he is doing right now is not that hard. I would wager that I could probably do this. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's not that difficult, and that's why you don't let this through. For a great player like Prosper, if you let the Torvald and then the Tyra and like every single pick on this, it would have been funny to watch this composition last season when Khan had bonus damage as well. I mean, this guy could be swinging for 1,500 on his biggest moments, right, when all these damage bonuses are lined up. It's not that difficult what you're asking Prosper Logic to do right now, and he is more than happy to get the easiest quadra kills of his life.
There's satisfying quadras, and then there's like Koga quadras where you're like, all right, he's doing it again. I think you saw a quadra, I think a triple kill, and then a couple double kills coming out there for Prosper Logic. I don't know if that adds up to 10, but he certainly found them, and he's going to pick up in the same exact spot, pouring out damage onto the Ashe. So trying to retake this high ground is Flashpoint, and they seem like they're going to be able to do just that, and it's hard not to when you have so much damage coming out. Immortal is Prosper Logic, and now he is going to solo zone, essentially. Stush Gaming back. You have the Vivian trying to do her best to find some damage, but 21% and climbing here on the side of Flashpoint. Stush Gaming needs to find a way to have an answer for this. I mean, is there a way to answer this?
They have to go at him. They're going to be getting wreckers online and stuff like that, but the only way, you will never run away from this. This composition from Stush Gaming has zero chance of escaping Koga, so they have to try and go through him. He's one of the squishier characters in the game. That's why Torvald is so important, because he's going to keep throwing and slapping those 2,000 HP shields on him and cover up his biggest weakness. But you have to just try and go through him, and it's very difficult early on when he's getting a lot of healing, he's getting a lot of lifesteal, and he is hitting you just so much harder than you're hitting him.
And we've, obviously we talk about the Koga Torvald, and that's something we've said rightfully so pretty much throughout this entire game, but you look at the streaks coming out for Flashpoint, everyone except for the Torvald on a double-digit streak, and, you could argue that the Koga Torvald opens up space, and that allows the other players to play a little more freely, less pressure on them, whatever it may be. Everyone on Flashpoint is playing so well right now. Nice convergence, and that's what they need. The Enlightenment finding the Torvald, not going to clean him up just yet, but he is soon to follow. So that's a little bit of what you need, it looks like, if you're Stush. Obviously, nice you can't rely on the convergence to be pin perfect every single time, but a little aggression right in their face seemed to do them good just now.
Yeah, but one of the best things about Convergence is it's somewhat similar to Vivianol in that you can just auto attack off a big one that you hit, and look, it's already back to 85%.
Yeah, wow.
So I guess technically, if they hit a gigantic Convergence every fight, they will always have a Convergence to use. It's really funny. It's something that's been nerfed, but it's still already strong. It's still strong, I guess, in a way. It was nerfed because it was egregious. You could hit like 2 people, right, and almost get a full charge. But he hits 3 there, gets about 70% off of a really, really big one. So to each their own. Throws out another one, and fortunately comes up much drier than he did last time.
Fortunately for Flashpoint, for sure. So they are going to look to find themselves a victory here. Prosper Logic so low up there in the corner. Going to find a shield. Going to find himself a kill as well. There's the Tyra ultimate as well. She's going to be pouring out tons of damage. Prosper cleaning up Vivian to start things off here. Good lad. Doing a great job of finding some damage as well. The Makoa soon to fall. Going to keep himself alive just for a moment, but potentially just a little bit of stall. Maybe not the ideal when you need to respawn with your teammates here. The Vivian going to be the last line of defense. Flashpoint unable to, Stush, unable to weather the storm. That was too much damage, and Flashpoint takes a clean 4-0 there.
Yeah, not exactly surprised, I think, for me personally. And I've sort of said my piece about the composition and what they did wrong. I think the easiest thing to do, I think they banned a Victor and a Grover, which Victor's fine. Grover is more of like, we're banning this. That's more of a meta ban, I think, than a Flashpoint specific ban. I think it's fine to get rid of Torvald every single game against Flashpoint.
Well, it's tough to find who to get rid of when there's so much you need to get rid of, but to break down that quick, game number 3, we'll send it back to the desk.
Thank you, guys. If you're just joining us, post game number 2, I asked Gormizer, does Flashpoint have a second gear? they do. Torvald Koga, that seems to be all we really need. Yeah, Stush, a big part of what made me really enjoy games number 1 and game number 2 from Stush was their ability to kind of adapt and overcome. And, well, this time Flashpoint just didn't give them the opportunity to adapt. They just hit the gas.
I mean, I kind of want to play the game. Obviously, you can see in the damage numbers, somebody was definitely an outlier. 104,000. Next highest I see is 53,000, so about double the next person who's on his team, by the way, let alone if you start looking towards what Stush brought in.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to play the game of how many kills did Prosper not get? His feed was literally, it was just anytime you looked at it, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to do the full math, but I'd say 9 times out of 10, he was the one that you would see winning the kills.
Prosper Logic started the game with a quadra kill, then went on to get another quadra kill, and then another quadra. So Prosper Logic also had 0 kills in game number 2. He's just making up for lost time.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things I said was, like, looking at it, you notice kind of, I feel like Flashpoint shying away from the Victor. Part of that is because it's been banned against them. Sometimes it's maybe just them not wanting to pick it up. They banned it in the first game. But game 1, he does a lot of damage, does a decent amount of kills. I think it was 14 and 4 at the end of it. Last one was like, what, 0 and 9? Coming into this was like Prosper Logic giving you that opportunity in a way, I want to say. Like, he was kind of like, okay, I know what I'm good at. Talus, Victor, I can play Koga, but I'm going to see what I can do on the Grok, what I can do with some of this other champions. This was, I'm not going to put any training wheels on. Like, everything's coming off. We are ready. Like, we're just going to go into this fight full force.
Exactly. Listen, when you're a top team like this, you can practice all you want in scrims, but there's no substitution for the big league stage, right? So, not disrespecting the opposition, practicing your other stuff, and then, oh, we've actually lost a game. Give me the Koga. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened here, right?
They literally, like, a big red button in the middle that just says the draft, and they just slammed it down. They got a Torvald, a Koga, and a Luminary Genos, and it's like, that's all we need for the rest of the game, which admittedly was only going to be 6 minutes no matter what. Any team against that is not going to be comfortable.
Well, we'll take a look at what map we're going to head to in game number 3 in just a moment, or game number 4, excuse me. We are going to stretch this one thanks to Stush's fantastic performance on turn 2. Fish Market. There we are.
And I like this the same reason I like their Splitstone Quarry pickup, because it accomplishes the same kind of mentality in my mind. It is a very different map with different play styles that you don't get taken too often.
Right.
And so you can't just say, well, this is the Frog Isle, this is Bright Marsh, this is Stone Keep. Like, you have to go, ooh, what do we pick? Like, where are we going? Unfortunately, I was going to say it's a downside for Stush as well, because this is a good map for snipers, and Prosper is a very, very, very good Kinessa player as well, let alone the fact that you factor in what Goodlad has been playing. All of his champions are great on Fish Market.
Quick, do you first pick Kinessa? Close your eyes.
No.
No? You don't first pick Kinessa?
I don't first pick Kinessa.
You trespass and are
You don't, Inara. And I love this choice because I feel like this is basic. In Paladins, you want a character that can stand on a point. But Fish Market specifically, that wide open space, and Nara, one of the biggest point tanks that I can think of, and just being able to just stand there is a really, really big deal for Fish Market. Vivian and Leon are going to be 2 of the characters that kind of tackle her really strongly, but I really like starting this off with a character that's just going to be able to stand there.
And the idea of being able to not only just stand there, use your own damage reduction kind of to your benefit, but having the wall, like being able to create your own deployable to keep you safe. It's the same reason why, like, Barrack is also pretty good on this map, just because I can give myself a shield. I can keep myself safe at least for a little bit while I'm in this fishbowl that is just constant damage being barraged down on me.
Stush, a team continuously after my own heart. If you ask me, I want tactics, I want strategy, and I want homework. And Stush has absolutely done that. They know across the way that Mr. Logic is going to be able to bring out the Kinessa, so they don't first pick it, they make sure to get their point tank first and foremost, and then after that, Kinessa shows up to combat what Prosper Logic might bring. Of course, Vivian already selected, might be a different story, but the point remains, I like the thought process here from Stush, and they're going to pick a Koga and a Tyra themselves. All right, this is an I just need to ask you what you think about the comp.
I actually like it. They're going a route that we've seen, and this is actually a draft that we've seen work on Fish Market, because this was a map where Fnatic, originally in the Premier League, was starting to bring out a triple DPS. The same thing is happening here. It's a good map to have a triple DPS on. Genos is very, very good at facilitating that.
One word, can Stush do it?
Yes.
Casters, let's see it.
Gore says yes. Time to see if that plays out. in game number 4 here on Fish Market. Not a traditional map. Let me ask you this, Nick. We've beaten the Koga Torvald thing to death. I mean, obviously that's a very strong stack, of course. That's an understatement. Do you like the Koga minus the Torvald? Do you think Torvald is the key to making Koga as good as he was in the last game?
He'll still definitely be strong, missing out on a decent chunk of the bonus damage, but to be honest, you don't need as much. You don't need all of that bonus damage. The thing you need the most from Torvald is the 3 seconds of 2,000 extra HP.
Right.
That's when you have the Torvald. That's when you can just turn your brain off. And I think we did see Prosper turn his brain off last game and literally just hold left stick forward the entire time. You won't be able to do that as much without Torvald on your squad. You can still absolutely blow people up with the Luminary and the Hunting Party supplements here. That's still going to be plenty enough damage to get kills.
Certainly an interesting storyline to watch. The Tyra finding the first kill onto World here, so Stush Gaming with that offensive high-powered lineup finding themselves an early kill here, finding themselves a little bit of
get on the
positioning.
Okay,
but yeah, now we see the objective finally coming out, and that was a bit delayed. They probably could have gotten 4 or 5 more ticks than they currently have. It's okay though, 30% in climbing here. You gotta watch out if you're Rain, you're going low. The Ashe is gonna try to follow up on the kill, and she is. So Legacy cleaning up. So it's a 1-for-1 in the long scheme of things. Both sides here finding a second for himself onto the Kinessa. Short range, not quite her game as it is long range. Inara is gonna be the next to fall. That's actually a fair point. I don't know if I see Koga on the screen. Chico playing back a little bit, at least at the moment. Stush Gaming falling rapidly here. Storm Avatar finding himself 1. Flashpoint able to retake the point here. 27% in climbing.
Yeah, that's not the way to do it.
Koga's behind him now.
What's going to struggle about this Stush Gaming composition is that once you fall behind, I think Evan said this best, Genos is not going to recover a team fight for you with healing, right? He is going to keep you ahead the whole time, and if you do fall behind, you are in trouble because you're not going to have the throughput to get healed back up. That's what we saw happen to Tyra, then it happened to Kinessa. Genos just can't save you.
Can't. They need some saving right now. 78 to 81 here. 1-for-1 on both sides. Both of the snipery type champions finding themselves 1. Chico finally falling. He was back in behind the Flashpoint lineup pretty much that entire fight just now. Oh, so low on the Enlightenment. That was satisfying. Rain, Good Lad finding 1 for themselves as well. Overtime starting to tick away in favor of Stush Gaming, but a double kill from Prosper, a kill from Good Lad is going to change the tide here. So 93, 96. Good Lad just going to clean up kills, trying to zone out the Koga. Doesn't matter. They find themselves the first point. So it looked like Stush Gaming was potentially going to be able to take that point. They had overtime ticking away in their favor. But at the end of the day, the Flashpoint lineup finds the right kills and finds point number 1.
It's really tough. I mean, Khan has a lot of immunity frames, a self-heal. Leon actually has a decent matchup against Koga, especially if you have your ultimate of him. You can blow up a Koga very, very quickly. Leon has a ton of burst damage with the current build that's floating around for her. Koga's autos come back to haunt him in a way against Vivian. Because they're so big, you don't have the precision to shoot her in like the calf down, which is the only part of her that's exposed when she has her deflector shield up, and then she absolutely has the DPS to kill Koga faster than he can kill her.
Right.
So again, not having the Torvald to give you another 3 seconds of life in these fights is really starting to show the weaknesses of Koga and why you can't just run this every single game. You need kind of the Torvald and the Koga for it to be quite as easy as we saw last game.
Well, they felt confident. He certainly has a lot of time to kind of turn that around, make a bigger impact on the game, but they actually themselves banned out Torvald in that draft, so it looks like they were expecting to take the Koga without the Torvald, hoping that it works out in their favor. At the moment it is, a minute left, not a lot of point push on that payload. Chico going very low here, is going to get cleaned up by Legacy, not before he finds one for himself though. Nico Noob trying to find the kill here onto the Khan, not going to be able to do it, at least at the moment. The Kinessa trying to hold down this long alleyway. That's kind of where you want your snipers. You want that long line of sight. Through Time and Space comes out, does not find one. Instead, he falls on his own, and off the map goes Rain. Tobson as well on the Genos. Things just seem to go entirely wrong there for Stush Gaming. You had the ultimate starting to come out, and then Flashpoint just collapsed right at the right time and took him out. Now they have this payload finally moving over that first big hill.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that Through Time and Space actually connected on anyone.
I don't think it did.
It looks like it would have maybe hit the tanks, but it's not going to kill the tanks, and Legacy still ran that fight. He still just shoulder charged down memory lane, blasted one off the map, turns the corner, and pressures the remaining 2. And he's kind of actually doing that really, really well all the way through this payload push. He has commanded the control of the space of this map, shoulder bashing almost on cooldown to chase down snipers and make people uncomfortable.
And in the meantime, Flashpoint finding some important kills. Overtime is going to start ticking away, but it's not going to be helpful when 2, 3 of your members are dying at any given time. And just like that, 2-0 here for Flashpoint. That Enlightenment was actually very well placed, nearly finding the Kinessa on the backside. Just enough damage to keep her out of the fight, at least for a moment. And then Prosper Logic finding his shots as good as anyone else and cleaning up that point fight for their team. So great job there from Flashpoint, finding a way to win despite having an interesting lineup coming at him.
And I mean, Koga sitting below Legacy's Ashe right now on damage. That's a big oof, because this composition is still designed to give Koga enough damage to succeed. But again, remember how we kept talking about Torvald and the survivability that he provides allows you to have more uptime. I don't care if you do 3 million DPS. If you can never find a time to get uptime in these fights and actually do that damage, get on the boss, so to speak, and stick to your targets, then what the hell does it matter?
3 million DPS does not translate well when you're only alive for 0.1 seconds, so it's not ideal. The Inara going to get heaved off the map here, presumably.
Or
no
not.
follow-up there. Bit of an awkward engagement there. World dropping on the backside, so Chico finding himself an early kill here. Stush Gaming, as a result, find themselves on the point. You got to watch out. If you're Flashpoint, that fast cap could catch up with them very quickly. Here's the Koga finding some damage, but you're right, not as much as we've seen. Of course, not as much with the Torvald. I don't think the hunting party was on either of those members. Finding some good chunk damage, not able to find a kill, at least for the moment. And here's Goodlad with those Sentinels. That's going to be a lot of chunk damage. There you go. There's the one-on-one. The Koga rarely making a scratch on Goodlad.
What level caught does
Retaking
he
the
have?
point is Flashpoint.
That's my question. Got? Oh my God, he's not going for caught.
He got Wrecker. Wrecker 2.
I think that's a mistake. I mean, that's why the second Sarah starts to heal, he has to back off. Sarah can essentially neutralize his DPS. If you're the guy that's supposed to be committing to people and getting into the backline and getting these kills as the flanker, I don't really know that you want to be the guy picking up Wrecker.
I mean, I guess there's shields for that to go on to, but...
Yeah, to get through Vivian, to get through Khan, to get through Ashe.
But that's not going to have the same impact as a Cot would in this case when you have someone like a Sarah just bouncing heals off of everyone. And you see 3-0 here for Flashpoint. Interesting item buys potentially coming out here for the Koga. And I mean, not that it would have made the entire difference in the world, but you could see in an engagement just a moment ago, the Koga was bouncing autos essentially just off of the Vivian. The health bar was not moving at all because the Seraph was able to keep her up so long.
Yeah, and I play flanks a lot, and I am always grabbing Cot. I will grab, especially because Wrecker, you can grab a Wrecker 1 and it's effective, right?
Sure.
You don't really feel the effectiveness of Cauterize until level 2, right? So I think you want to rush Cot 2 and then maybe transition to Wrecker 1. We've been seeing a lot of guys in the minor league do that, and I think that is unequivocally the better way to go, especially when you are playing such a I am committing to this kill flanker like a Koga.
Right. He is able to find himself 2 kills here to stall out Flashpoint just for a moment.
That's because Saris isn't around.
That's true. The Saris is dead, actually, so that's very helpful. Finding a 3rd kill in this engagement is Chico onto the Koga. No healer in sight, though, for Flashpoint. They have plenty of time here. Minute left. They just need to win another team fight to get this one pushed through. So 3-0 now is Flashpoint. No ultimates aside from the seismic crash and the convergence up on either side, but it almost seems like it hasn't been too ultimate heavy of a game. Just pure damage on one side, fighting against pure damage on the other side. Nico Noob trying to find some angles, trying to find a pick, trying to find something that can give Stush Gaming the advantage here on the defense.
Takes a lot of damage from Prosper Logic, who doesn't have the vision that we do, but he could be in trouble if he pushes around this corner. Goodlad is a little bit tankier and is able to push around that corner a bit safer and get some information, but look at this. Everyone's starting to fall back from Stush Gaming, and as soon as they give up these tight angles here and allow Flashpoint in the door, I don't know that they'll be able to stop them. Legacy, honestly, has been my MVP this game. He has controlled this space so well on Ashe.
Playing huge. Playing Ashe the way she needs to be played. Getting in your face, getting aggressive, doing damage at the same time. You know, it's helpful to zone, but not being able to do anything with that zone is, you know, it's a moot point. But Legacy doing huge things on the Ashe. It's going to be an Inara now, but she is going to go low. It's just her. Seismic Crash is going to come out. It's just going to find Prosper, though. It seems to be it, unless Genos can find a miracle. He's unable to, and game 1 comes to a close. Flashpoint dropping Splitstone Quarry, finding their feet again in the next 2 maps and taking it 3-1.
I mean, they really did give up a great composition to Stush Gaming on Splitstone Quarry,
Right.
but everything else was rock solid from them, and they started to do what they do, started to look a little bit more themselves in those final 2 games.
Definitely did. Flashpoint finding those Jets, finding that heat again, what we know Flashpoint for, but that is going to do it for series number 1. To break it down, we'll send it back to the desk.
Well, Gore, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just toss the apology there. But at the end of the day, no, games number 1 and game number 2 were very, very competitive. And I think kind of being around competition for so long, we've seen this time and time again with top teams where there is always a second gear. There's always a second gear. And Flashpoint, we're kind of in that first gear. Again, it's hard to illustrate this without it sounding disrespectful, but that's not that's not at all where Flashpoint is coming from. But Stush Gaming, I think, just provided a stronger game than Flashpoint were expecting, and that's why games 3 and 4 were so drastically different than games 1 and 2.
And that it is not only that adaptation, I want to say, from Flashpoint
For
that
sure.
made the big difference, but also Stush, like, I mean, for this game, this was we have the theory, we have the work to be able to come in and make a little bit of a difference, but can we execute it, right? Like, that kind of composition absolutely can win this game, but it's can we keep up against what Legacy has been doing, what the entirety of Flashpoint was doing.
And this is a lot of what Flashpoint were doing, just getting behind the enemy lines, able to finish players off. Really fantastic stuff, honestly, coming out from FP.
And this is something, I think it's actually really great, not only to have Nick have highlighted it, but to have the highlights here for Legacy, because one of the things, I talk about Good Lad a lot, I talk about Prosper a lot, and the thing is like, they are really great DPS players, but they have the one thing that great DPS players need, and that is a front line that clears out so much room for them that there's almost no, like, if you weren't being top damage, if you weren't getting all those kills, then you're the problem at that point. Like, your front line does so much work for you.
And the other side of the coin is the reason you're able to get those numbers is because your front line is taking care of all the business.
Legacy's up there with a bonk stick, just knocking them out.
Well, Flashpoint take care of business here. 3-0 is their win-loss record so far, and they're plus-minus 8. Woof.
Yeah.
That is that's just big, baby.
8-2 on the next, so you can see a big gap between Flashpoint and iTech. But the thing is and I actually think this is misleading. Stush Gaming 0-3 -7
Very
could have been
misleading.
-8 if they didn't get that one win. But I think that's misleading for how they play. Like, that's what I had to go on coming into this set, and now knowing that, I think they are very easily a team that could take second place in this region.
Exactly. Make no bones about it. The first half of this set and the second half of the set, very, very different. Stush Gaming just being able to perform the way that they did in games number 1 and 2 already has put me in a different position as far as and that's also, look past that. What you want to see is a team that's brand new to the league and one of the top end teams. They're going to learn. This is week number 3. They're doing just that. If Stush Gaming continue to perform like this, they just might become my favorite team. Unfortunately, they're at the bottom right now. Moving on, we're going to go to European Xbox, Cyclone, and Bust Down after this.
Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evil Mojo, INAP, SteelSeries, Respawn.